Okay, this was the quintessential Houston Texans victory. It's one that, right this moment, as frustrating as it was, the Texans showed a lot of grit in the fourth quarter. In particular, they righted some of the wrongs. They still have a lot of wrongs. I don't like the fact that the Buffalo Bills are playing on Sunday Night Football. I don't need to be reminded of who the next opponent is, but Nico Collins, first and foremost, 12 catches, 151 yards, a touchdown, targeted 15 times. Shout out to Stephon Diggs, too, who had some nice catches in that game. But really, this is about CJ Stroud under duress and under a lot of pressure for most of the day, connecting with Nico Collins in what must be the most infuriatingly annoying thing to watch if you're an opposing fan, because he is that guy where you're saying, like, why is he always open? Because that's Nico, baby. That's what he does. This is a game that the Texans would not have won if there were a non-Trevor Lawrence quarterback in there. I think Trevor Lawrence missed a couple opportunities, at least two easy, obvious opportunities for huge strikes. Three probably, and then multiple others in between. Sam Darnold, I think, credit to Steven Sims, because Steven Sims kept them in the special teams. Special teams has really screwed the pooch in a couple of victories for the Texans, both in the Colts game and then this one. They made it a lot dicier than it had to be. So to focus on the positives, though, because this is going to be very brief. This is going to be like 8 minutes because I got to get over to KHOU, baby. Then we'll watch some tape later tonight. We'll watch the press conferences. We're going to have a good old time. I might get out the old Adderall prescription. Who knows? So Nico Collins, hell yes. The scramble drill between CJ and Nico has just become art. I do worry sometimes that there's sometimes where CJ could take the easy money and he's extending plays because I think he expects Nico to get open at some point. There's got to be a balance there, and I'm far beyond blaming CJ for anything right this moment because he was under duress way more than he needed to be. The run game, I know we're talking about the positives, so I'm gonna say that they improved in the run game and they improved in the pass game in the fourth quarter. That was encouraging to see. The yards per carry had been hovering in the 2 point somethings for most of the first half. They got it up to 4.0 by the end of the game. You know, we've got a pattern now of chicanery in the run game in the first half, leading to success. Stephon Diggs, where I think that was probably, maybe they addressed it in the post game. I haven't watched it yet, but it looked like, I don't know if Stephon Diggs had the designed option in that play, but as soon as he turned around and both a linebacker, safety, and a cornerback, or a linebacker and a safety, were both headed out towards the sideline, I think he saw his avenue, and credit to the blocker who did that for him. Jalen Petrie, and again, this is about the fourth quarter, right? I think that Jalen Petrie is exactly who I think we thought he is, and we know who he is. He is more linebacker than he is cornerback. And when another team is able to target him in man coverage, it's going to be an issue. I know we get frustrated with the soft coverages and the soft zones. I don't know if they have the horses right now to line up and play a lot of aggressive man. They were blitzing in the first half, but Petrie came up huge there in the fourth quarter. So credit to him. Eric Murray as well, I think. This is a little bit of the bind that they're in, is that those guys are very capable in zone and are capable of making plays, but you're a little bit limited in how aggressive you can be in coverage. I think Kamari Lassiter, I keep reminding myself that he's only played in 4 NFL games, because Kamari Lassiter is doing a lot of really, really good stuff, but he's one of the guys that, hey, if they'd been facing Sam Darnold or somebody else, either getting beat on a double move once and then getting beat just on a go route another time, but still doing some very good things in this game. I'm going to credit everybody's grittiness and toughness, but we all know, like every single one of us knows, that they've got to make some improvements across the board, specifically on the offensive line. More of a topic for this evening when things get angry than it is right now. No false starts by Laramie Tunsil, I suppose, but I credit to them in getting the pass protection more dialed in the fourth quarter. You could actually string together that nice long drive. Run defense, we got issues. We got that one long run where both defensive tackles were lined up to the right of the center on 3rd and 3, where I understand that alignment because you can run a lot of blitz packages out of that, but usually you got to have the defensive tackle. If there is nobody blitzing, you got to have the defensive tackle come back to the proper side of the center, and they just blasted their way up through the B gap because you got Elshire playing 3 technique from a 2-point stance, basically. Elshire's tough as hell, man, but he can't play 3 technique. Not in this century or the previous one. Maybe in 1898. He's tough, but he's wiry. Steven Sims, keeping it positive. The penalties, keep it positive. Schultz and Agumbawale. If there's one thing I've learned about Schultz, it blows my mind that he's not a better blocker than he is because he's gritty AF. Like that play to get down closer to the goal line was just brilliant, keeping his knee off the ground and just spinning and driving. Agumbawale showed me moves that I didn't know he had. It was almost like he channeled Joe Mixon into him, even including the dance afterwards. So Agumbawale, who Sean T. Pendergast, he compared him to Shane Battier. Okay, he's not. He's a nondescript dude, but that does really good things and does things the right way, including in pass protection. Joe Mixon, that's your answer about the Bills, okay? You want a chance to go just stand in there and swing for 15 rounds with the Bills? Joe Mixon's got to get back because the run blocking was not great at all, but those backs don't have the same vision that Joe Mixon does. So I am optimistic that they'll look better as a running football team just by sheer presence of Joe Mixon. And they've got to do a lot of other things fundamentally better. I think that with Bobby Slowick right now, if I had to sum it up in these last 2 minutes, I'm going to say that right now he has the hallmarks of an offensive coordinator who's more concerned with scheme than he is with execution. And I know they'll drive home execution and talk execution, but they're not doing things fundamentally well in the run game. They're getting themselves into trouble in pickup with D-line movement in the passing game. All of these things, they just need to get better. And there are areas for opportunity. I think Kenyon Green and Juice Scruggs are still a work in progress. I think that Titus has been fine in pass protection. I think those guys, Laramie, for whatever level it is, does seem more engaged in run blocking this year. I don't think you can just flip the switch on something like that. And maybe that's something that's still a work in progress and needs to be driven home, but it's certainly not where it needs to be. Penalties, talk about it later. The big run we already talked about. You know what? I missed the Brian Thomas Jr. shotgun because I was trying to get back to the press box from our Odyssey suite. These are the problems that plague me. It's a rough life, but so I missed it, and it sounds like a damn shame. A damn shame. Let me check these comments real quick before I abandon everybody. Let's see. We don't fear the Bills. Yeah, no, dude. What? Look, I'm not taking the win. Maybe you're talking to somebody else. Look, I fear the Bills. You should have a healthy fear of every opponent, and I think as a matter of urgency, I hope that's what's been driven home these last couple weeks is that you just can't get away with playing sloppy football. It was yet again, and I know D'Amico referenced this in his press conference. It's just too much shooting yourself in the foot. It's too much, as D'Amico phrased, that you're playing the opponent and you're playing the Houston Texans. So in the last 2 weeks, the Texans are 1-1 against the Houston Texans, and they barely squeezed it out this week. Versus the Bills, if the Bills are on their game, they're coming off of a couple of primetime games, lots of excitement, lots of emotion, all that. But you can't be shooting yourself in the foot. So I'm excited to rewatch some of this game. We'll play that later, and I will also play D'Amico and CJ Stroud's press conference. Please like, subscribe. I'm Seth Payne. I used to play for the Texans, but now I can't be a Texan no more in terms of being a player or anything because I can't. I'm 49 years old mostly, and I've got a head injury.